Hi, I'm Old Norse specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. I teach at the University of Colorado, previously at 2 campuses at the University of California, and I am a translator of Norse myth and sagas, in addition to being a television and film consultant on subjects in Norse myth and language, most recently on American Gods Season 2. In this video, what I want to talk about for a few minutes are two of the most famous animals associated with the Norse gods, Sleipnir, Odin's horse, and Gullinbursti, the boar of the Vanir gods. Now the name Gullinbursti means golden bristles, referring to the whiskers or bristles of this boar being gold, but in fact the entire animal is made of gold. This animal originates from the same story as the origin of Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, and Gungnir, Odin's spear. After the dwarves, or Svartalvar, black elves known as Ivaldi's sons, had made 3 great treasures for the gods. They had made Gungnir, Odin's spear, they had made the great ship Skidbladnir, and they had made Siv's golden head of hair. Loki got 2 other dwarves named Brokr, Badger, and Eitri, Poison, to make 3 other treasures. I've talked about this story before, so I won't tell it in detail, but among the treasures they made, including, well, in addition to Thor's hammer Mjolnir and the ring Draupnir for Odin, was the boar Gullinbursti. Now this is a boar made of gold, which glows, and which is given, according to Snorri's story about the creation of these things, to Freyr, the Vanir god associated with fertility and agriculture. Not many stories are told about this being exactly. In Snorri's Prose Edda, where we also read about the origin of Gullinbursti, we read that Gullinbursti pulls Freyr's chariot, just as Freya's is pulled by her cats. He also says that another name for this boar is Slithrugtani, roughly sharp tooth. And another name that we find for this boar is in the poem Hindluljóð, or Völuspá and Skama, where it is Freyja, Freyr's sister, who is riding Gullinbursti. And in that poem, he is also called Hildisvini, basically war swine. And he is, in fact, as I mentioned, Freyja's riding animal there. Now, it is quite probable that the Vanir gods were pretty closely associated with most barnyard animals, including boars. We read of this elsewhere. We read of, in vague terms, of sacrifices that involve such animals and the Vanir. We read of boars also being objects of promise making. One might touch a sonargolter, a basically sacrifice boar, during a feast such as the Yule feast, in order to cement one's oaths, much the same way as people today in a courtroom might touch a Bible to cement their vows. Now we know a little bit more about Sleipnir, Odin's horse. This name is related ultimately to the same root as in English slip, so you can think of him as the slider or slipper. His origin is a strange one, and also told by Snorri in the Prose Edda. According to the story, a Jotun, one of the giants, had arranged with the gods to build them a wall around Osgarðr, the domain that they live in, to keep the other Jotnar or giants out. He had agreed to do this within a certain span of time. I believe they end up saying a year and a half, but that he was going to receive the sun, the moon, and of course Freyja, the goddess that the Jotnar always want to take from the gods, in exchange. And he got to use his powerful horse, Svadilfuri, to help him make this wall. So with the help of Svadilfuri, he actually had nearly completed the wall when the year and a half had run out, and the gods started browbeating Loki, who had been the one who had convinced them to let him use the horse, to somehow get them out of this promise, right? Break this deal with the Jotun, get him to fail to complete the wall in time, so that we don't have to give him the sun, the moon, and Freyja. Well, Loki knew what to do. He turned himself into a mare. He often uses shape changing to accomplish his aims. And he trotted out to where Svadilfuri and this man were working, and neighed seductively. Of course, the sound that a horse makes in Old Norse is neg. So you can imagine that being neighed seductively. There you go, neg. And when Snorri says the stallion recognized what kind of horse this was, he broke out of the reins and chased her. And unfortunately for Loki, made her pregnant. I don't know if Loki was able to turn back into a man-shaped being in the meantime, but something, you know, like 11 months later, he gave birth to Sleipnir, an 8-legged stallion, who was then to become the steed of the god Odin. Now, Sleipnir has 8 legs. This possibly originates in an Iron Age artistic convention of depicting animals running as having multiple extra legs to indicate that they're going fast. Think the way that in a cartoon you might draw somebody as having, you know, 20 legs to show that he's running fast, especially if he's about to fall down the Grand Canyon or something, right? If he's Wile E. Coyote or whatever. And he is ridden to hell on 2 memorable occasions. It's kind of a special thing Sleipnir does or can do. Odin rides down to hell on Sleipnir in the story of Baldur's Draumar, in that poem of that name, which is often included in translations of the Poetic Edda, including mine. And on that trip, he interviews a Volva about why his son Baldur is having bad dreams about dying. And spoiler alert, it's because he's about to die. After Baldur dies, Hermodr, a son of Odin, travels from Valhall on Sleipnir down to Hel as well to ask Hel if she will give Baldur back. Of course, I've reviewed the story of Baldur's death at length in another video that I'll link in a card. Now, one lesser-known story about Sleipnir is that Saxo, who writes in Latin in the 1200s in Denmark, writing his Gesta Danorum, or History of the Danes, Deeds of the Danes, Saxo actually tells a story in book 1 of that book about a man riding Sleipnir with Odin. An old man with one eye takes a young Hodingus. Everybody has a Latinized name in Saxo. There's even Odinus and Thorus and Baldur's. He takes Hodingus on his horse after Hodingus is defeated in battle. After giving him a potion to strengthen him, the old man then takes him back to where he picked him up, and Hodingus experiences the truly wild ride of riding on a flying horse over the ocean. We read in Latin, anima vertit equinis fretta patere vestigiis. He noticed the ocean laid bare beneath the horse's hooves. And uncharacteristically, perhaps, for a Norse hero, we actually hear that he's frightened of this experience. Surely, of course, if you've never been in an airplane, it would be frightening. I enjoy being in an airplane, but I don't like being in airports. Anyway, it's a different subject. Sleipnir is a major part of Norse mythology, as is Gullinbursti. Gullinbursti might have played a bigger role, of course, in stories that might not have come down to us, since our written sources tend to emphasize the Aesir. But at any rate, Sleipnir is certainly the best of horses, as he's called in Grimnismal by Odin himself. Gullinbursti, I imagine, counts as the best of boars because it seems to be a big deal that he glows in the dark and is made of gold. And, you know, I don't know if that's really what you want a boar for, but that's what the Vanir wanted him for. All right, well, I hope this has been a somewhat illuminating quick look at these 2 riding animals. Before I fall off of this cliff, I'm going to ask that you check out my other videos. I have more than 290 other videos about Norse language and myth, all sorts of topics under those broad categories. I also have, of course, my translations of the Poetic Edda and the Saga of the Volsungs, available both in written form and in audiobooks narrated by me. And I have a Patreon where you can help me make these videos alongside more than 1,000 other people who have joined that community on Patreon. For now, from beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.